Right, hi guys, and welcome back to the Cruel Wall. Apologies for the delay in the upload, but I've been on the Red Bull yacht enjoying myself, and in true traditional style, Daniel Ricciardo's won the race. It's time for another shoey. Here we go. Oh, Jesus Christ, that never gets any easier. And a fairly average race as always from Monaco, but did provide some late excitement with a couple of incidents and plenty of cars bunching up together but just not being able to find room to pass. So of course we'll kick things off with the race winner, which was of course Daniel Ricciardo. Red Bull, excellent, on pace this weekend, fantastic result by them, fantastic achievement. Pole by merit, Ricciardo's second ever pole in Formula 1 at the same circuit twice now. He loves Monaco, doesn't he? Denied the win in 2016, but this year he claimed it, and he claimed it well. The car suffered some reliability issues and lost about 25% of its power due to the reliability issue, and he held off a lot of strong challengers from Sebastian Vettel. And Sebastian Vettel didn't really seem to have the pace, or he wasn't really close enough for long enough to have a go at him. But Daniel Ricciardo, pole, an excellent pole lap, track record as well, and yeah, topped every session this weekend. You can't say fairer than that, can you? That is an extraordinary weekend, and that race result was fantastic. When he reported at about lap 20 that he was having power issues, I thought it was all over. I thought the Red Bull had denied him a win again, but no, they hadn't, and this time it's come through. I'm really chuffed for Ricciardo. So for that reason, Daniel Ricciardo, I can do no other than score you 12 points. That was a fantastic, fantastic race. Well done, thoroughly deserved on the Cruel Wall. 12 points, recovering now, look, from his -10s of crashing into the teammates, eh? But yeah, we're back on winning form. Well done. Next up was, of course, Sebastian Vettel grabbing P2. Qualified P2, stayed P2. There we go, it's Monaco for you. Pretty much line astern. Vettel didn't really have the pace, did he? He was on the back of Ricciardo initially when Ricciardo announced he had a power issue. And then from there sort of just slowly slipped back. After the virtual safety car, lost a lot of time, not sure what happened there, must have been some kind of technical issue, but nonetheless maintained P2 and did a solid job at it. Late attack by Hamilton came to nothing really, and yeah, finished P2. A steady weekend really. It was nice to see that the tide had been turned once again. 2 wins for Ferrari, 2 wins for Mercedes, 2 wins for Red Bull this year. You wouldn't have said that at the start of the season considering how fast the Mercedes were, so there we go. So, Sebastian Vettel, average race, not too bad. Kept it tidy, kept it out the walls as well. You know, there's no such thing as a lazy race in Monaco, I don't think. So, for that reason, I'm going to score him 8 points. I think he did a solid enough weekend there, 8 points. Next up in P3 was, of course, Lewis Hamilton, the blessed one. He maintained P3 pretty much throughout the race. Not really coming close to Red Bulls or the Ferrari of Vettel. And, yeah, did an okay job, really. Was moaning about his tyres. I mean, it's the same situation for everyone else, Lewis. Get over yourself, will you? Come on, everyone else has gone on the same compound as you. But anyway, you know, that's Lulu for you. And yeah, an average race again. Like I say, it's difficult to judge Monaco. His pace was good, but it wasn't on pace with Ricciardo. Mercedes did look the third fastest team this weekend. You have to admit that. And yeah, so Hamilton, an average race weekend. Didn't do as well as Ricciardo or Vettel. So I'm going to score him 7 points. Get ready for the hate once again. I've become a fanboy to a hater in the space of 5 races. So there we go. But yeah, 7 points. Wasn't a good weekend for Hamilton, but I suppose he consolidated, only losing 3 points out to Vettel. Next up in P4 was, of course, Kimi Räikkönen. Didn't do too bad of a job. Stayed on the back and got close to Hamilton at one stage, but then just dropped off like the typical Finnish do. The Finnish second drivers do, I should say. So yeah, Kimi Räikkönen, not too bad of a job. A quiet weekend. It's difficult to judge in Monaco because the pace is there, then it isn't, and it just ebbs and flows really. But Räikkönen did a good job. A fairly average race. And yeah, not much you can say. It was qualified P4, stayed P4. You know, it wasn't up there in terms of pace of his teammates, so you've got to mark him down for that. So yeah, I'm going to score him Räikkönen 6 points. 6 points for Räikkönen. There's a lot of people did a lot better races out there this weekend, so that's what I like about Monaco. A bit of topsy-turvy, hopefully. Next up in 5th, of course, was Valtteri Bottas, Hamilton's teammate, and again, off the pace of his teammate. Qualify P5, stay P5. It's the typical Monaco scenario. And yeah, I mean, never really showed true pace all weekend. Kept it tidy, kept it honest, but again, not as involved with his teammate. So for that reason, it's going to be 6 points for Bottas as well. Bottas as well, you get 6 points. It was an average race, average. Next up was, of course, Esteban Ocon, who did an amazing job to finish in P6. Qualified P6, it's worth noting as well. Solid points on the board for Force India, and let's not forget, he was on the back of Bottas and Raikkonen at one stage, just before that virtual safety car, before he finally dropped it back a little bit. But he was in touch with the faster cars, and that's not really known. We know that circuits obviously favour some cars, and Monaco's pretty much neutralises the deficit, but still an impressive effort. Esteban Ocon, thoroughly chuffed with you, did a solid job this weekend, and I'm going to award you a solid 9 points. Ocon gets 9 points. Very good stuff. Next up was Pierre Gasly, more points on the board for the Toro Rosso team. Amazing stuff, P7, 6 points on the board. Great race, qualified himself in P10, got through to Q3 in the Honda. This is what we mean. The deficit doesn't matter as much with performance when it comes to Monaco. You've just got to have a good chassis around there. And Toro Rosso proved they've got a good chassis. Not so much the engine performance, but that doesn't matter. Climb 3 places. That's a stunning effort. Stunning effort there. So yeah, a great result. And this is what we mean. These are average drivers now. Do you know what I mean? These are drivers that are expected to do better and they finish 4th and 5th. These down here, Gasly, would you have said he'd score points this weekend? Absolutely not. And especially a P7 as well. 6 points on the board. That boosts, of course, Toro Rosso in the Constructors. I think they're probably ahead of Haas now, or certainly close to. So yeah, a great drive by Pierre Gasly. Solid weekend. Qualified in the top into Q3, inside the top 10, and then finished P7. Good stuff. Absolutely good stuff, Gasly. You are a good one indeed. I'm scoring you 10 points, my friend, because that was a stunning drive. Excellent stuff. Rewards are coming now on the cruel wall. Next up in P8 was Nico Hülkenberg. Was let through by Sainz later on in the race due to being completely on a different strategy and was wanting to get clear of Max Verstappen that was charging through the pack. And Hülkenberg, yeah, did a good job really to bring more points home. 8th place, usually around where we see him anyway, between 7th and 8th, of course. Had Sainz not let him through, he'd have probably been down there in P10, P11, but of course playing the team game. Renault didn't look like they were going to get many points from this weekend, but of course benefited from like the retirement of McLaren's Fernando Alonso, and did a solid job. Yeah, it was difficult to see. Renault wasn't really on pace this weekend, they were struggling. Not as much as some, but they were struggling still. But for that reason, Hülkenberg, a solid-ish weekend, out in Q2, but did make places. So, yeah, good enough. So I'm going to score you... what am I going to score you? I'm going to score you 7. I'll score you 7 points, just because I think I might have been a bit harsh, but I was going to be a bit harsh and score him 6. But 7 points for Hülkenberg, I think, is decent. He did okay. Next up in P9 was, of course, Max Verstappen coming through the back of the grid after shunting in FP3 and not being able to get the car ready to the Red Bull boys, despite the best efforts. And it was a weekend of what could have been really for Verstappen. Of course, I've got to include the FP3 incident and the lack of qualifying into this result. But in terms of the race itself, did some really good overtakes, some really clever overtakes. A couple of moves on sides was a bit rough, but you know, you've got to make the opportunities while you can at Monaco. And did a solid enough job, did Verstappen. So, yeah, ninth place and 2 points is not where that car should have been today. That should have been an easy Red Bull 1-2, judging by Ricciardo's performance. So for that reason, I'm going to score Verstappen 4 points. People are going to absolutely roast me for that, but it's called the cruel wall. He made a silly error in FP3, which fundamentally ruined his race weekend. Just because he overtook a few cars doesn't mean I'm going to start thinking he's all bloody brilliant and everything. He did a good job. He needs to do that in races in future when he wants to overtake and not just lunge at people like a lunatic. I think he'll calm down now. I think he will calm down because this has hurt him this weekend and you can see it has. He's like, oh yeah, congratulations to Daniel. And he knew full well he could have been challenging for a win this weekend. So, calm down now, Max. We love your racing style. What you did in Monaco was fine, but come on, just keep at that, not go ramming into the whole world. Claiming the final point was Carlos Sainz in P10 for the Renault team, and yeah, played a brilliant team game, did Renault, and Sainz a wonderful team call to allow his teammate Hulkenberg through on a different strategy, and picked up the final point. In his own words, it was a disappointing weekend, which you have to agree. I admit Renault weren't really fully there, but of course outraced by his teammate Hulkenberg, due to strategy but also due to pace as well. Obviously if Sainz had had a bit more pace, he'd been a bit more further up the road and probably wouldn't have got in Hulkenberg's way. But Sainz, solid enough job, but not brilliant really. Another point again is good, I suppose. I think he's scored every race bar one this season so far, but picking up a point, you need to get more. You're in a Renault now. They did gain advantage, of course, to McLaren in the Constructors as a result of McLaren not finishing in the points this weekend. So, not too bad, but I'm going to score him 5 points. I don't think it was a fully great weekend by his standards, and even he admitted it. So, middle of the road 5. In 11th, and just missing out on the points, yet again, is Marcus Ericsson. And I've got to say this again, I think Ericsson and Leclerc are doing a brilliant job at the Sauber team. Ericsson, of course, out in Q1, shown up by Leclerc in the race and of course in qualifying, but his race pace was decent. It was behind Leclerc for the most part of the race, like directly behind him and not miles behind him. And unfortunate to miss out on a point. I'd have loved to have seen Sauber get a point, especially with it being Leclerc's home race. And by the way, I can call Leclerc because he did an interview and he said, I don't mind which way you call me. So there we go, he's back to Charles Leclerc, although David Crossway's still wrong. Anyway, back on to Marcus Ericsson. A solid enough weekend, unfortunate to miss out on points, P11 so close. The Sauber team deserve more, I feel. They're really pushing forward, really strong now. Outracing Williams this weekend, Haas, you know, in the mix with the Toro Rosso boys, of course, as well. A good weekend by Ericsson standards, so for that reason, I'm going to award him 7 points. I think qualifying was a bit iffy. But to say he caught up to Leclerc and was behind him, I think that was a proof that he pretty much nil and voided the qualifying result, which is rare for Monaco, and was behind him. So, good stuff. Great race, Ericsson. Unfortunate to miss out on the points. Next up was Sergio Perez in P12. A weekend of what could have been. I was thinking it was going to be double point scoring for Force India this weekend. Of course, Ocon out-qualified Perez. Perez started in P9, but still the best qualifying season to date for Force India this season. And yeah, a weekend of what could have been. He had an issue in the pit stop, which of course, with a rear right, I think it was, that wouldn't come off. So that delayed him and put him behind the Saubers, and that's where he stayed for the remainder of the race, couldn't overtake. Normally, he takes a lot of risks in Monaco, so it was nice to see that he didn't this year, because he normally likes to clatter into everything, does Perez, so I normally get a bit worried. 12th position doesn't really show the pace. Could have been a double point score this weekend, but he wasn't on pace with Ocon, and everyone has to admit that. 3 places behind in qualifying. It was 3 places behind in the race before the pit stops. So, yeah, Perez, solid enough job, but unfortunate to miss out on points, but not on par with his teammate. So for that reason, it's going to be a middle of the road 5 points, I think, for Perez. Like I said, good weekend. Could have been better as a not result of the pit stop blunder, but wasn't on pace with Ocon anyway. In P13 was Kevin Magnussen, and we really didn't see much of the Haasers this weekend, did we? It must be said. Fairly poor performance by their standards. 1 out in Q1, 1 right at the back in Q2. And yeah, Magnussen to get up to 13th, I suppose, is some solace, but there was a few retirements towards the end, so didn't really gain those places on merit, and he just looked terrible. They were running around in 19th and 20th until Williams made a cock-up and Stroll made many cock-ups. But, you know, Magnussen, a lonely, quiet race. Obviously, both of them were off the pace, not just Magnussen, it was Grosjean as well. So, for that reason, you're going to have to say it's the car, and therefore I can't score them too harshly, but then they didn't really put much performance in the race. So, I'm going to score Magnussen as 6 points. Oh, no, I'm not going to score him 6 points. I'm going to score him 5 points. Middle of the road 5 for K-Mag. Average race. The car looked off the pace. Should be better in Canada though, hopefully. So, yeah, middle of the road 5 for K-Mag. I can't score him 6 when I've scored Raikkonen 6, can I? So, 5 points there for K-Mag. Next up in P14 was Stoffel Van Dorn, and yeah, disappointing weekend by Van Dorn standards. Alonso was running around in 7th when he had his gearbox issue, or some mechanical failure anyway, which caused him to retire from the points. And Van Dorn was nowhere near the points this weekend at all. He really does need to step up and kick up a gear now and get on with it. Is unfortunately looking like he could be replaced at the end of the season, just not delivering. Alonso's just showing him up every race. And yeah, it's just a shame to see, really. I was expecting more from Van Dorn this year, especially when he had a strong start. You know, fair enough, he finished like a couple of places behind Alonso, but not too bad. But this weekend, nowhere near. Nowhere near at all. And to say last year, with the Honda engine, he got into Q3, yeah, it's just disappointing to see by Van Dorn. So, for that reason, I'm going to award him the same as I did last weekend, just 2 points. And yeah, hopefully, he can book his ideas up. Come on, big stronger in Canada, Van Dorn. We're all rooting for you. Next up in P15 was Romain Grosjean, the second Haas car. And again, a quiet, lonely race by them. Grosjean had a slight crash in practice, touched the barriers, I think it was in FP1, so that limited his running there. But it's Monaco. People are going to have incidents. I can let one slide. When it doesn't cost you qualifying, that is, of course. And you're quick. But yeah, nonetheless, Grosjean... again, it was difficult to tell the pace of the cars this weekend. It clearly wasn't there. I'm hoping for better things in, of course, Canada. With a 3-place grid penalty was fairly nil and void. The lined up on the back row, I think it was minus Verstappen. So I'm going to score average, middle of the road 5 yet again for Grosjean. Couldn't really see the pace of the Haas this weekend, and they didn't really deliver anything in the race that interested me. So there we go, 5 points. In 16th place was Sergei Sorokin, and genuinely felt sorry for him this weekend. Did a solid job to qualify that Williams in P13, while his teammate continued to bitch and moan like a spoilt brat. But nonetheless, a great result by Sergei Sorokin. Then they didn't put the tyres on with 3 minutes to go, so he incurred a 10-second stop-go penalty, not to be added to his pit stop time. He had to make an additional pit stop, so when you think about it, it's like 30 seconds lost. And he came out stone dead last, and that was that. So yeah, it was a disappointing weekend for Sorokin. I'm glad he made it to the finish, and I'm glad he didn't give up. But I just wanted to see him have a solid race. It could have potentially been points this weekend, because it could have been where that Leclerc incident were, and he might have scraped a point or two. So it was unfortunate that he missed out there. And I'm sure Williams will be kicking themselves for that error, and I'm sure Sorokin won't be very happy with the team either. So for that reason, Sergei Sorokin, solid weekend, not your fault that you're down there. And yeah, I'm going to score you 7 points, mate. I'm going to score you 7 points. I think you did well. I think you did very well that weekend, and just couldn't show your potential due to a team. Next up, and last of the finishers, is Sergei Sorokin's teammate, Lance Stroll. Well, what do we say about Lance Stroll? Other than all he has done this weekend is bitch and moan and whine and cry and it's been unreal. He has literally he needs to go. He needs to go, Stroll. I don't give a shit how much money he's bringing in Williams. He is bringing your team morale down. As if Williams want to be at the back of the grid, and then he's going, get it fricking sorted, guys, and this doesn't work, and that doesn't work. And then to top it all off, he probably crashed into the barriers twice. He ended up with 2 punctures anyway, so Christ knows where they came from. They wouldn't just magic themselves, would they? And then he didn't even know he got a puncture. He came over the radio and went, something's heavy on the front, something's wrong on the front. Look at your fucking wheels, they're flat. Jesus Christ. So, Stroll just off completely. All we had was bitching and moaning in FP1, FP2, FP3 qualifying and the race. He got shown up by Sorokin. Sorokin outraced him and he had a 10-second stop-go penalty to add to his time. Out-qualified, outshone by a younger, inexperienced teammate. I'm not a fan of Sorokin anyway, but Stroll is just total horseshit. Anyone that still calls himself a fan of Stroll now, you need to get your head checked out. I mean, I can understand if you're Canadian, but come on, you've got to admit it's disappointing. Worse than Jacques Villeneuve in the latter years, it must be said. And Lance Stroll, you've brought a total disrespect for your team and your colleagues and the people that work with it. It's all me. I'm daddy's rich boy. You need to give me a fast car. Blah, 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 blah. And you don't deserve to be there. There's a lot of decent drivers waiting in the wings that would love your seat. There's Pascal Wehrlein. You've got Antonio Giovinazzi. There's loads of drivers that are decent that could have that seat, mate. And you're there because your daddy pays money. And you can't even be bothered to respect the team that you work for and respect the things that your dad's given you. You can f right off, pal. So for that reason, I'm going to score him minus 6,000 points. He is gone off this cruel wall in my eyes, because there's one thing I hate. I hate bitching and moaning, but I hate the lack of respect brought to a team that has 300 plus members in it because you don't get your own way. Do you think Williams want to be in that position, Stroll? No. Do you think they want to work hard to try and rectify it? Of course they do. Do we want to see it as fans? Yes, we do. Do we want to see you bitching and moaning on the radio and putting minimal effort into a race because you can't win? No, we don't. F*** off. So that's him out. Minus 6,000 points. I'm not impressed with you, Stroll. You are a t***. Anyway, we come on now to they were classified, but they were out of the race. And we have Charles Leclerc, of course, in the Sauber at his home Grand Prix. The Monegasque driver. Felt really sorry for him today, this it must be said. Did a really solid job in qualifying to qualify P14. Started P13, I think it was, with a penalty for someone ahead. But nonetheless, did a solid job. Stayed P13, P14 for most of the race. Went up to P12 as a result of Alonso's retirement. And was battling the back of Hartley's car for P11. Did a really solid job this weekend, and then had an unfortunate brake failure whilst behind Hartley. Tried to avoid it as best he could, bless him. I mean, you know, the guy's a pro. The guy is a pro and he's going to go far. He's going to go far, Leclerc. Didn't deserve his first retirement at his own Grand Prix, though, it must be said. I'm sure he'll be disappointed, but like he said, he's got to take the positives away from this weekend. And the positives were, he was good. He was on form. He was doing well. It wouldn't have been points, but it'd just been nice to see him take the flag. So for that reason, Charles Leclerc, you've done really well, mate. I'm going to score you 8 points. Of course, no, it wouldn't have been points. You know, but 8 points is a solid weekend. You did better than Ericsson and deserve a little bit more than what he got. And that's it. Well done, mate. Like I said, shame you had to have an accident. Not your fault at all. Next up, of course, was the guy involved in that accident was Brendan Hartley. And yeah, unfortunate the way that he went out, but he was outshone by his teammate anyway, and he had also been given a 5-second time penalty added onto his time, which would have put him behind Leclerc, Ericsson, as well as I think it was the Hassers as well. So he'd have probably ended up in the down about P16 without the retirement anyway. And Hartley went out in Q1, which was such a shame because both of the Toro Rossos were looking quick in practice and qualifying. It wasn't just Gasly. And then for whatever reason, Hartley just didn't deliver in qualifying and ruined his race as a result. And yeah, it was the same situation with Verstappen, really. Ruined his race as a result of a poor qualifying, in fact, none at all. But yeah, Hartley was really shown up by his teammate this weekend. He could have done with grabbing a point or two just to make the deficit look a bit less, but just couldn't quite do it and then was taken out as well. But it'd have ended up down at the back anyway with that 5 seconds added on. So a poor weekend by Hartley. I hope the rumours aren't true that they're trying to get rid of him and put potentially Wehrlein in that car. As much as I like Wehrlein, I think you need to give a driver a full season. He never had a chance in the 4 or 5 races he did last year because his car was always breaking down. And this year's a learning year. We know what Gasly's talents are. Hartley's come from LMPs. He needs a bit more time, and I'm willing to give him that bit more time because I think he can do it. So yeah, let's not get rid of Hartley just yet. Of course it was a crap weekend by him, I'm going to score him based on that, but he just needs a little bit more time. I'm willing to give him that time. So for that reason it's going to be just 2 points for you, Hartley, I'm afraid. A poor showing really, but there we go. And last but not least, of course, Fernando Alonso. What can we say? Unfortunate, but outshone his teammate. Out-qualified him massively, out-racing him massively, and then a gearbox issue, or some kind of issue. I'm not too sure, I never looked up before starting the video, but it's a shame for Alonso to go out like that. Could have been valuable points that weekend, especially with Renault double scoring, Force India having a strong weekend. You know, it all adds up. These points will all add up, as well as Gasly as well scoring the points. Let's not forget Toro Rosso could potentially get up there if they remain consistent. So a shame, really. It's the first time that this season that McLaren haven't scored points in a race, so unfortunate. But Alonso, strong enough race. I'm going to score him 6 points. Now, of course, it's that time again. We're all going to get Jolyon Palmer, so just bear with me, and I'm going to go and grab him. Jolyon! Wherefore art thou, Jolyon? Here he is, everyone. It's Jolyon Palmer for Palmer of the Week. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen, that was Jolyon Palmer. And as you can see, it's a double Palmer, it's a DP, it's a double Palmer on Lance Stroll, which means it's minus 100 points off his score because I just feel like it. So minus 6,100 points to Lance Stroll in the end for that absolutely dismal shite drive and for the way he treated his team. And I have got no qualms with that at all. I don't think Jolyon Palmer moaned that much, so yeah. Double points, double Jolyon Palmer points there, so double DP, minus 100 points. You've heard it here first. It's the first one of the season and it'll keep on happening. So, thanks a lot for watching, guys. This has been the Monaco Crawl Wall, and yeah, thanks a lot for watching. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe. I'll reply to as many people as I can down below. If you leave your thoughts and feedback down below, and yeah, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Much love. Right then, let's start with some posers. Feel like James Bond. Pew pew pew. Christ.